Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randirhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man. The false. We believe that all men are created false.
To the magnificent mosaic that is American radio beacon, the true radio mosaic that is American radio.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Who's there? Imagination.
Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
If that memo is released, it will dominate the discussion for good and bad reason. It will dominate deal making. You said in a statement from the White House, he hasn't reviewed it yet, we're nowhere on releasing it. Then let's put up the statement just so people can see. There you are. It's a good enough picture, right? I know everybody always starts with the picture. Contrary to a published report, there are no current plans to release the House Intel Committee's memo. Continue on. The president hasn't seen or been briefed on the memo or reviewed its contents. Okay, fair enough. But then last night we had this piece of sound, so then explain it to us.
Watch this.
Let's release the memo. Oh, yeah. Oh, don't worry. 100%. Can you imagine that?
100%. He's going to release the memo. Is that the new position from the White House?
Look, we've said all along from day one that we want full transparency in this process. We haven't hidden that. But at the same time, we're still going to complete the legal and national security review that has to take place before putting something out publicly. And that's the place where we are right now.
Is there any chance that the president does not release the memo?
I think there's always a chance. But again, I don't know. I haven't seen the memo. I can't make that judgment, but I do know that we're going through that process. I know that'll be part of what's taking place at the White House today, and we'll certainly keep you guys posted, as I know you'll continue to ask until you hear the final answer on that.
Has the president seen the memo yet?
Not that I'm aware of. I know he hadn't as of last night.
Then why is he saying he'll release it?
And immediately after the State of the Union.
All right. So obviously, before he goes promising 100%, he should read this because he may be getting set up by the memo if it doesn't deliver what's promised by people on the right.
Up.
Did Devin Nunes work with anybody in the White House on that memo?
Not that I know of.
So yes.
He wouldn't answer that question.
Right. And I just don't know the answer. I don't know of anyone that he did, and I haven't had a chance to.
He has worked with the White House before when it comes to intelligence and the Russia investigation.
Look, we have certainly coordinated with members of Congress, as is appropriate. As to specifics on this, I just don't know the answer. I'm not aware of any conversations or coordination with Congressman Nunes.
Congressman Nunes. So Congressman Nunes is a guy who said that there was unmasking that he had to tell the White House about, and it had to do with, Obama administration officials. And he runs to the White House, and it turns out that he was summoned to the White House in order to receive talking points from the White House to say that there was unmasking at the White House and that Trump was wiretapped by Obama. All of it turned out to be untrue. Now, Devin Nunes creates a memo that Rod Rosenstein now piled on today and said, please do not release this. It's inaccurate. This memo is false. This memo is inaccurate. It is false. It's going to leave a false impression, and it contains classified information, and it jeopardizes our collection methods, sources, and methods. So please don't do it, right? The FBI director, Chris Wray, said the same thing. Please do not release the memo. The Assistant Attorney General, Stephen Boyd, said that releasing this memo would be reckless. Extraordinarily reckless. That's the correct quote. And he says, why would the committee seek to disclose classified and law enforcement sensitive information without first consulting the relevant members of the intelligence community? He wrote that the Justice Department has turned over more than 1,000 pages of classified documents to the committee relating to the FBI's relationship, if any, with the source and its reliance, if any, on information provided by that source. And please do not release this memo because we were relying on it. I got a feeling it was Carter Page all along. But all right, we don't know. The president was asked last night as he was leaving and gloating because he thinks he did a fabulous job at the very flat, very feckless State of the Union last night, the darkness that was his State of the Union. You know, the State of the Union right now is unrecognizable. That's what he should have said. The State of the Union is strong. I mean, this is what Obama said. He repeated Obama's opening line. The State of our Union is strong. The State of our Union is unrecognizable. People don't recognize their own country. What president has ever tried to decimate law enforcement while touting that he's a law and order guy. It's just mind-blowing. But you see, I don't care about the memo, except that to the extent that it would jeopardize sources and methods, then I care. I don't know what's in it. I guess if they redact it properly, because this memo is going to backfire. Everything Devin Nunes does, Devin Nunes is a loser. He's a ne'er-do-well. He's a simp. Okay? And everything Devin Nunes does explodes right in his freaking fat face. So Devin Nunes, if he encourages the president releases a memo written by Devin Nunes, this thing is going to lead right where it's supposed to lead. And trust me, it's going to be the New York FBI. It's going to be that field office. And we're going to figure out that it was Rudy Giuliani and James Kallstrom and the NYPD and the New York field office of the FBI that was leaking to Giuliani and leaking to James Kallstrom that they had Anthony Weiner's laptop and that they had it. Now, remember this timeline. This is seared into my memory. The FBI in New York seized Anthony Weiner's computer in an unrelated case, right, having to do with Anthony Weiner texting teenagers in a very disgusting and inappropriate manner, something called dick pics, I think you young people call it. And so they seized his laptop. He's in jail because of this behavior of his, right? But they got the computer on October 3rd. October 3rd. They were supposed to be doing forensics on that computer in that case. And instead, they decided that they saw some emails from Huma Abedin and they would sit on it. And they sat on it for 3 damn weeks. But they were telling Rudy Giuliani and they were telling James Kallstrom what they found on Anthony Weiner's computer was emails from Huma Abedin that might, implicate Hillary Clinton, and that James Comey was going to close the investigation and they were going to embarrass him. Okay, they were going to embarrass him because they weren't going to bring charges against Hillary Clinton because the intent to compromise the intelligence or the intent to compromise confidential or classified material was not there. On the other hand, Trump's intent is to destroy the intelligence community, to deny what the intelligence community has found out about Russia, and to destroy the FBI itself. Acting Attorney General Sally Yates, fired. FBI Director James Comey, fired. Rod Rosenstein, brought in by Donald Trump. He picked him. He knows the best people, after all. He picked Rod Rosenstein. Rod Rosenstein is now saying, don't release this memo, don't release this memo. And probably because Rod knows where this memo will lead, and it will lead right to the New York FBI and right to the NYPD and right to his friend Giuliani and right to his friend James Kallstrom. So, this is probably why Rod Rosenstein is saying, don't do it, because this whole thing's going to blow up in Devin Nunes' face. There is no question in my mind. How many shows have I devoted to showing you the conspiracy that was going on in the New York field office, in the NYPD, with Rudy Giuliani, former mayor, former federal prosecutor, and James Kallstrom, former director of the New York Bureau of the FBI, on the Fox News. We have a surprise. We have a surprise. What do you think we're going to lay down? So here's the story. The New York FBI had Anthony Weiner's computer on October 3rd. They did not reopen. Comey was loath to say that he was going to reopen the investigation in public, but asked the New York FBI to do the forensics on that computer and find out what was on there and turn over any information that he could use to show that Hillary Clinton had additional emails that were never perused by him. The New York FBI never did that work. They didn't do the forensics. They just sat on the computer. And then October 28th, October 27th, I got a bombshell for you. They wrote to James Comey, and they told James Comey that they found stuff on the computer. They had just now looked at it, and he needs to reopen the investigation. Well, you'll never guess who wrote that to James Comey. You'll never guess who the FBI agent was who wrote to James Comey saying you must reopen the Hillary Clinton email case. Now, yes, we sat on it for 3 weeks, but now is the time. You know who it was? Pete Strzok. Yeah. It was FBI agent Pete Strozak. You know, the one that's having the affair with Lisa Page? You know, they're texting back and forth. They hate everybody, and, you know, they hate Hillary, and they hate, Trump. They hate Bernie supporters are stupid. They hated everybody. They just, they just hated everybody who was in a position to win any political power at all. They just hated. They were universally hating. Today, CNN obtains emails from Pete Strozak. Oh, yeah. Emails. And one of the emails has the draft letter that Pete Strozak wrote that he wants James Comey to read, to say that he's reopening up the investigation on October 27th. Now, remember, the FBI in New York has had Weiner's computer since October 3rd. 3 weeks they sit on this thing. But here's a copy of the email, date 10/27/16, 7:46 p.m. I don't know who this is from. This is to Peter Strozak. And it says all, and there's a lot of, James A. Baker is copied on this, Jason Herring. There's a whole bunch of names on here, and then there's a bunch that are redacted. And the subject is the draft of congressional notification that they want the FBI investigation reopened. It's all, I've attached a new draft for discussion tomorrow. Thanks. And whoever wrote this, their name's redacted. And then there's another one written from somebody whose name is redacted that says, all, I've attached a new draft in which we have attempted to address Trish's comments. So somebody's weighed in on this memo. And then there's an email from Peter Strozak. First cut from blank, John and me, thanks, Pete. And this is the first draft, and they're sending this on October 27th to James Comey. And they want James Comey to say the following. In previous congressional testimony, I referred under oath to the fact that the Federal Bureau of Investigation had completed its investigation of former Secretary Clinton's personal email server. Due to recent developments, I am writing to supplement my previous testimony. In connection with an unrelated case, that's the Weiner case, the FBI, that would be the FBI in New York, has learned of the existence of emails pertinent to the investigation. I am writing to inform you that yesterday I decided that the FBI had an obligation to take appropriate investigative steps to review these emails to determine whether they contain classified information as well as to assess their importance to our investigation. While at this time, the FBI cannot yet assess the significance of this material. They've had it for 3 weeks in New York and they're sitting on it. I believe it is important to update the committee about our efforts in light of my previous testimony. This is what they want James Comey to say on October 28th. Because 3 weeks after they took Weiner's laptop and the FBI Washington office asked them, sent them a request to examine that laptop and let them know if there was anything pertinent to their investigation. 3 weeks later, they are crafting a document for James Comey saying, we didn't do any forensics. You have to reopen the investigation. You have to do it. That is how this whole thing is going to blow up. That is how you are going to find out that I am right. I've been right all along. I was right when James Comey first reopened this investigation to think, because I saw Rudy Giuliani on Fox News. I was listening to James Kallstrom on Fox News bragging that the New York FBI, that they were talking to active agents, which is illegal. They were talking to outside agents, retired, supposed. And he tells Lars Larson, Rudy Giuliani does, that, yeah, of course he's talking to active agents. You wouldn't believe the language they're using. They want this reopened. We have a surprise, an October surprise up our sleeve. And I remember James Comey's testimony. And James Comey's testimony, there were 2 times when he referred to this. One was when Patrick Leahy, which I bet you don't even remember, I'll play it for you, asked him about Giuliani. And I said to you, don't forget about Giuliani. Don't forget about him. I'll show you. Go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.